In the last few lessons, we've been studying the physical details of moving around the musical landscape on the neck of your guitar. And you've been learning to connect all these notes together in your mind so that you can move freely between them in either direction. And so what we've really been doing is we've been learning how to take our thinking up a level. We're not stuck down at the guitar level anymore where everything's complicated and difficult to see. Now we're able to think on a higher plane. And this is the level where it becomes very easy to see melodies, harmony, chord progressions, even entire compositions, and we can play all of this in any key we want because we're not limited by the physical details of the guitar neck. And so what I want to show you today is the piece that goes on top of this, and it's what I call the IFR Tonal Map. Now, if you've studied any music theory, then you'll immediately recognize this as just a visual representation of the major scale. This is what the major scale looks like in any key. But what I'm going to show you is a way that you can do all of your musical thinking right here on the IFR Tonal Map. And what you'll discover is that literally every musical sound you've ever heard in your life is somewhere on this tonal map. So to begin working with the IFR Tonal Map, the first thing we need to do is to learn how to create this little system of notes anywhere on our instrument. And that's where our work today builds on what you've been learning until now, because the tonal map actually sits on top of that unbroken chain of half steps that you've been learning to visualize and play. And so as we begin exercise 2, melody, what we're really learning is the next level of abstraction that we need to master. In exercise 1, you learn to take this confusing and disjointed physical world of the guitar neck and raise it up to this higher plane, what I call the unbroken chain of half steps, where everything is crystal clear and there's this kind of perfect mathematical purity to it. And now what we're going to do is raise our thinking up another level, and we're going to learn to recreate the entire world of modern harmony on the neck of the guitar using the IFR Tonal Map. So let's look at the thought process to applying the tonal map to the guitar, and I'll show you how you can create tonality on the neck of your instrument, how you can project the notes of any key you want all over the neck of the guitar, just respecting the intervals on the tonal map. And for this demonstration, you don't need your guitar because I actually don't want you to follow along and pay too much attention to the exact fingering that I'm using. We're not interested in building up an inventory of scale drawings. What we're developing here is an ability. And it's the ability to visualize any tonal concept that you want anywhere on the neck of your instrument. So just follow along and think it through with me, and we'll see how we would apply the tonal map to the neck of the guitar. We'll start just the way we start every exercise, by just selecting any note at random. Remember that idea of just throwing yourself into the ocean. So I'll start on the 4th string at the 4th fret on my index finger. And this will be my note 1. And so now what I need to think through is, how do I move up to note 2? And from your tonal map, you know that that's a whole step. There are 2 half steps between note 1 and note 2. And since I've still got plenty of room on this string, I'll just move up 2 frets, and now I'm on note 2. To move up from note 2 to note 3, that's another whole step. And now what I'll probably do is change position, slide up 1 fret, so that I can reach this note 3 with my pinky finger. From note 3 up to note 4, now we just need a half step. And since I've kind of run out of fingers here, now what we're talking about is the half-step mobility jump between this string and the next. And as you know from your work in exercise 1, the half-step mobility jump between these 2 normal strings requires you to change position, slide down a fret, and grab that note with your index finger. And so now we're on note 4 on the tonal map. From note 4 up to note 5, that's a whole step. So that's just 2 frets. Now from note 5 up to note 6 is another whole step, but since I'm in that funny zone, now I've already got my whole step mobility jump available to me just between my ring finger and my index finger on the next string. Now I'm on note 6, move up another whole step to note 7, that'll be just 2 frets. And now something interesting happens, because when you look at the drawing of the tonal map, you'll see that little curtain that I draw between note 7 and note 1. And that's not a separate note. So there's no note in between 7 and 1. 7 and 1 are just separated by a half step. I just draw that little curtain there to remind us that when we reach that next note 1, we're actually entering a new octave. And so we're on note 1 of the same key, the same note 1 that we started on, but now we're in the next octave. So from this note 7 up to note 1, I just need a half step. And that's just 1 fret. And we can keep going. From note 1 up to note 2, that's going to be the whole step mobility jump now between these 2 strings. From note 2 up to note 3, whole step, that's 2 frets. Now we need just a half step up to note 4, that's just 1 fret. Now I need a whole step up to note 5, that's 2 frets, so I need to change position, and so on. And when we come down, we can actually come down through a completely different path. Remember, we're not trying to even remember where we've played these notes. All we're practicing is our ability to go to any note we want to, using as our only piece of information our knowledge of where we are right now in the key. And right now I'm on note 5, and that's the only data point I need. If I know I'm on note 5, then I can just think through whatever, series of movements I need to think through in order to play any other note that I would like to play. So from note 5, let's come down to note 4. We'll move down 2 frets on the same string. From note 4, now down to note 3 is just a half step, so that's just 1 fret. And now let's move down this string a little bit more. From note 3, 2 frets down to note 2, 2 frets down to note 1, and now let's stay in this position for a minute. From note 1 down to note 7, remember that's just a half step. So I'm between normal strings here, so the half step mobility jump requires me to change position. Now I'm on note 7 on the B string. I can move down to note 6, that's a whole step, so that's 2 frets. 2 frets more takes me down to note 5. To move down to note 4, that's another whole step, but I'm in the funny zone here, so the whole step mobility jump looks like this. Now I'm on note 4. Now I can move down 1 fret to note 3 because I just need a half step. Now I want to move down a whole step to note 2, that'll be 2 frets, and now the whole step mobility jump down to note 1. So let's do another example together, and this time we'll be a little bit more brave and we'll start on a note that's not even note 1. Again, we'll start by just choosing any place at random. I'll start here on my pinky finger on the 5th string. And let's say this time that this is note 6. Okay, and this time instead of starting by moving up, let's start by moving down. From note 6, how do we move down to note 5? Well, the question is simply, what's the interval between note 6 and note 5? And as you can see from your tonal map drawing, that interval is a whole step. So we're talking about moving down 2 half steps, and I've still got plenty of room on this string, so I'll just move down 2 frets, and now I'm on note 5. From note 5, I need to move down 2 more half steps to note 4. That's a whole step jump. This time maybe what I'll do is slide down a position so that I can reach that note 4 with my index finger. Now from note 4, moving down to note 3, I just need a half step. And since I've run out of fingers on my left hand, now what we're going to do is the half step mobility jump between these 2 strings. Now I'm on note 3. Moving down another whole step, that's 2 frets, takes me down to note 2. And to move down to note 1, that's another 2 frets. So now I'm down here. Now first you'll probably need to go very slowly and really take your time to think through each of these movements, and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't feel any rush or any pressure at this point, because we're really making a very important mental shift. What we're learning to do is to visualize where we are, not so much on the neck of the guitar, but now where we are on the tonal map. That's our mental point of reference. I'm not on the 4th fret of the 2nd string anymore. That's not important to me. What I'm on in my mind is I'm on note 6, or I'm on note 3, or I'm on the note sharp 4, right? I'm somewhere in that little tonal universe represented by my tonal map. And developing the ability to kind of translate that to the guitar so that the physical issues of the guitar kind of go away, and you can just concentrate all your attention on your musical idea, and that you can express that idea effortlessly on your guitar, is a really important goal. It's a really exciting thing that we're developing. It's going to take you much farther in the future than any kind of scale drawings or any little pattern that you could memorize. So just take your time. Just like always, what we want to do is relax, put all of the thoughts out of our mind, and just give our full attention to moving around the neck of our guitar in this new way. I want you to enjoy making music with these sounds and enjoy this new freedom that you have to project this idea of tonality directly onto the neck of your guitar and improvise freely in any key all over the neck of your guitar using this tonal map concept. And as soon as you're very comfortable doing that, then you're ready to move on to the next lesson, in which we're going to begin a whole series of creative exercises called 7 Worlds.